Today I decided to give you guys a review of Power Rangers Time Force for the PlayStation 1. The game is based on the TV show of the same name, which was the 8th version of Power Rangers. The game loosely follows the plot of the season and is a 3D platforming beat-em-up. The game shows the Rangers traveling to different time periods and battling Rancic and his minions so they can stop him and his nefarious plans and save the day. That's the basic premise of the game, so let's get started with the gameplay. The game features 7 different levels, and each one is a different time period. From the Old West to medieval times, old-fashioned pirate ship, and even a prehistoric era, just to name a few. There only being 7 levels, I do have to admit there still is a good bit of variety here, and the gameplay also does feature heavily around the concept of time. Each level is given a time limit, but you can collect these little mini hourglasses throughout the level that range from increasing your time by 1 second to several seconds. And if you move at a fast enough pace, you get a reward for beating it within the time limit. There's no rush, though. You can just take your time and beat it as long as you want to.
Oh my!
You don't get any extra rewards, unfortunately. Just getting the pass to the next level. This actually is a nice feature and adds some replay value. So basically, if you go through the 7 levels without reaching the time limit, you can do them again and try to complete it, which leads to, like I said, more unlockables, which is kind of nice. Each level also features a time artifact, which is just a little hidden device within each level. And if you find all 7 of them, you unlock the Quantum Ranger, who is the most powerful one in the game. In the initial run, you play as 5 different Rangers, and you can choose whichever you want for each level. Each one has certain advantages, one being stronger than the other, one being faster. There's an all-rounder, and of course, one has more speed and more defense. It doesn't change the gameplay greatly, but essentially everyone has their own advantages and disadvantages, and if you play through it enough times, you'll find the Ranger that probably suits you the best. I pretty much recommend the Red Ranger because he's kind of the best overall. It's whichever you prefer, or just whichever one you like from the show. The gameplay just consists of you fighting henchmen, jumping from different platforms, and just getting to the end of the level. Most levels feature a mini-boss, which is just as strong as the regular boss, and at the end you'll fight the regular boss, who will then grow to giant size. This then leads to the second part of each level, which is the Zord fight, which is pretty basic and has the same controls as the main part of the game, only you're much bigger now. These Zord fights are pretty interesting, and there are a few different variations of the Zords, but they all play basically the same, some being a little bit faster and some being a little bit slower, but this is balanced out by the amount of power that each one has. And there's no major difference between the Zords, but they do all look different, so it's kind of nice to have some variety. Another aspect of the presentation that I enjoy would have to be the cutscenes at the beginning and between each level. They do show footage from the TV show, which is kind of nice. It is heavily compressed because it is a PlayStation, but the quality is really not terrible, and it is a nice little touch that kind of reminds you that you're playing a game based on the show, although there's not a large variety of cutscenes, and some of them get reused several times. So now that we've talked the basic presentation, gameplay, and premise, let's talk about the music. Overall, the music is pretty decent, but it's kind of just basic little jingles on each level. It does feature some music from the show, which is nice, but that's mostly just in the cutscene and opening, and everything else is just kind of your standard background music that doesn't really leave much impact. It's okay for what it is, but nothing that really sets the game apart, and it's just kind of there. So let's get into the overall positives now. I think the basic presentation is pretty good. It's nice that there's an overworld, which is just the clock tower, which is featured in the show. It's nice that you can choose each ranger that you want on each level. And then the variety between the levels is good as well. I also enjoy the time limit aspect because it actually does add a bit of challenge to the game, but you're also not forced to beat the game at any certain time. You just get rewards for doing so, but they don't hinder you from actually beating the game per se. The Zord fights is also a nice touch that's very basic in its combat, but it is nice that they have them in the game. And I like that it's the second part to the boss battles, and it does add a nice little bit of variety to the gameplay, even if it's not a great amount of variety. And lastly, I do think the game does look decent. I don't think it's a great looking game by any standards, but I do think that the colors are nice and it's bright and vibrant and it does represent the characters from the show and everyone looks the right part. And overall, I think it is a decent sounding, decent playing, and decent looking game. So let's get into the negatives. First and foremost, the game just doesn't have a whole lot of variety. It pretty much just consists of jumping on platforms, fighting random enemies, get into a mini boss encounter, and then having a Zord fight. And this is basically every level. On top of that, the Rangers have a very simple move set of only a few moves each. You can pick up a character and throw them. You can punch, do a jump kick, and have a special attack. But they all play basically the same as well. And even though there are 5 different Rangers, 6 if you count the Quantum Ranger, there's not a whole lot separating each character, and it's a bit simplistic. And lastly, I would say probably the worst aspect of the game is the platforming itself. It can be pretty straightforward and not so bad, and at the times you find yourself dying to really cheap jumps due to poor collision detection, and it's pretty bad on the platforming aspect. Of all the deaths I had in the game was never to combat, or next to never, honestly, and it was almost always due to bad jumping. I don't mind platforming, and I think it does fit the Rangers, but I think it could have worked a lot better, and as it stands, I think that the platforming is pretty subpar, and definitely one of the weakest, if not the weakest aspect of the game. So overall, while I don't think Time Force is going to blow anyone's socks off or make anyone fall in love with the Power Rangers series, it is a nice adaptation of the TV show, and I am a big fan of Time Force, so I did watch it when I was a kid, when it was new on Fox Kids, and it's still one of my more favorite seasons of the show. Not my favorite, mind you, but it's definitely up there. It's just awesome that they actually got Vernon Wells to play the villain, and Ransing is probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite, Power Rangers antagonists. I look at it this way with the game, though. If you're a fan of the show, you'll like the game, and if you're just a fan of PS1 games, you'll probably also like the game. However, if you don't like games of that era or Power Rangers, you probably won't get much out of this game. Overall, I'm going to have to say Power Rangers Time Force, as a Power Rangers fan, I give it a 7 out of 10. And if you're not a Power Rangers fan, it's probably closer to a 6. But it's a fun little romp that you can beat in about a day, maybe 2 if you're taking your time. And it's really an inoffensive and fun adaptation of the TV show. It does have its flaws. Like I said, there are some bad platforming here, and the combat is very basic, and there's not much variety in the gameplay. But it's not a bad Power Rangers game. There are some really good Power Rangers games out now, such as Rita's Rewind and Battle for the Grid, but I would really love a 3D free roam Power Rangers game that lets you go around all of Angel Grove as the Rangers outside of the costumes and be able to switch to the costumes as you want and have giant Megazord fights within the city and help people out around Angel Grove. It would just be awesome, but unfortunately, we've never got a game like that. But if you want a fun early 2000s beat 'em up, you could do a lot worse, and I do recommend Power Rangers Time Force. Well, that's my review. I do thank you all for watching. I should have the next video out to you guys quicker than this one. I'm trying to get back into the swing of things, but let me know what your favorite Power Rangers TV show is down below, whether it be the original Mighty Morphin or even Time Force or something else. And let me know what you think about this game if you have played it. I do thank you all for watching, and peace out.